I was just about to make century egg and lean meat porridge for the son I just brought back from the bar when the doorbell rang. Holding the spatula and tying my apron, I went to open the door. Looking surprised, which idiot, only to see Joshua Foster looking at me with disgust while holding a snow-skinned and flower-faced woman by his side. The woman's abdomen was slightly bulging. The gaze staring at me was filled with contempt and pride. I held back for a while and finally spat out a word. "Damn," Joshua Foster coldly said. "Ella Barnes, please watch your wording." I pointed at her, feigning ignorance. "What's going on with her?" Joshua Foster lowered his eyelashes and calmly said, "She is pregnant and it's mine. I can't let the two of them suffer." I was almost amused to the point of anger. How much I loved him in the past. Now, how much I hate him. I hate him for his youthful affection. Hate him for his tenderness and romance. Hate him for his firm promise of "I will never let you down in this lifetime." And also hate him for shattering all of this dreamlike illusion years later. I still remember Joshua Foster coming home one day with lipstick marks all over his neck and collar. He no longer sneaks around, but rather boldly flaunts himself in front of me. I questioned loudly, my voice. He tugged at his tie and said wearily, "Ella Barnes, can you stop causing trouble? Men need to socialize in business. Not only are you not a good helper, but you also come here to give me a headache. Just look at yourself. Do you still have Barnes' daughter's demeanor?" Later on, when I went to the private room to pick him up to go home, I saw him with his arm around a young, beautiful girl as the light and shadow shifted. The same gentle and indulgent look, which I thought was exclusively mine. But little did I expect he had already given it to someone else. "Ella Barnes, let's each do our own thing. You can choose any male model you want. However you want to play, I won't interfere, but likewise, don't think you can interfere with me. Don't worry, Mrs. Foster will only be you. I won't bring any flirts home, nor will I shake your position." And now he lightly said, "She is pregnant. I don't want them to suffer grandly bringing someone before me." A man's words are deceiving. After so long, I thought my heart would still ache. After all, I once loved him so much. Yet now, I am unexpectedly calm. All I heard from that woman was softly saying, "Sister, Foster never wanted this. But a child cannot live without a father. Sister is magnanimous. She wouldn't mind me and the child, right? He and I, Foster, have always been truly in love." As she spoke, tears fell from her eyes. A lovely swaying little white lotus. Joshua Foster is really into this. Disgust flashed in his eyes as he looked down at me. "Warning, Ella Barnes. Whether you accept it or not. Grace Samsis, a kind girl. Don't think you can bully her. Are you out of your mind, Mom?" A tender, clear voice came from behind the sofa. Soon a handsome and lovely boy peeked his head out. The appearance is quite similar to mine. At this moment I suddenly remembered that I seemed to have forgotten something. All the sadness over spring and autumn disappeared and I rushed into the kitchen because damn, my porridge. However, it was too late. The porridge was completely burnt. Aha! At this moment, my finger was touched by someone. "Mom, it's okay. I'm not hungry yet." The little boy comforted me with his watery eyes, a handsome face, rosy lips, and soft little hands gently shaking my fingers. It made my heart melt, so I squatted down and gave his face a peck. "No one can go hungry. Especially my little darling. Mom will keep cooking. Mom's century egg and lean meat congee is really delicious." That pair of unfaithful lovers was instantly cast out of my mind. Right now my heart and eyes are filled with a lovely son. Joshua Foster, an ominous premonition has already floated to mind. He has been married to me for 9 years. In these 9 years, does he not know whether I have been pregnant or not? Joshua Foster, his voice trembled. "Ella Barnes, who is he?" I only then realized that they were still there, idly lifting his eyelids. He said, Joshua, this is my son who has been lost to the outside world. You saw it, too. He is still small. He can't be without his mother. Joshua Foster, the innocent and fragile expression of the woman behind him instantly froze on her face. Joshua Foster's face instantly darkened. He exploded in anger. Ella Barnes, his eyes were red, and he was enveloped in a thick aura of hostility. Seemingly unable to accept this reality. It was as if, no matter how lavishly he indulged outside, it was unbearable for me to be unfaithful to him. The little boy pouted and furrowed his brows. Uncle, you are so fierce. Immediately afterward, he displayed a clear, soft smile, opened his arms, and embraced me. Not like me, only able to feel pain for Mama Tilda. My heart seemed to skip a beat, and then it vibrated rapidly like a drum. Cow-eye, how can this tea talk be said so cutely? I really want to argue. I hold back my eager hands. There are still 2 scumbags here that haven't been dealt with. I gently covered the child's ears, looking at Joshua Foster with a mocking smile. What are you so angry about? Isn't this what you said? To not interfere with each other? Joshua Foster's temple veins throbbed slightly, his teeth grinding with a clack, as if he were trying hard to suppress his emotions. He glared at me coldly, but his voice was burning with rage. You can play around, but who the hell allowed you to have another man's child? What? Joshua Foster, you got someone else's belly pregnant and brought her here, saying I can't feel aggrieved for them. I can't have other men's children. Do you think you have the right to say that? I replied with a cold laugh. Joshua Foster, don't be too hypocritical. Joshua Foster was panting heavily. And then, as if he suddenly understood something, he sneered. Ella Barnes, you can't possibly be jealous. Right? Using a child from your relatives to fool me. The trick of wanting to capture while letting go is of no use to me anymore. I simply can't understand how that fresh and clean handsome youth turned into this cold and greasy, ordinary appearance. Was I deceived back then or simply blind? He commanded me from a high position. Ella Barnes, you immediately take this little bastard away. I will not pursue this matter. In his incredulous gaze, I shook my sore hand in front of the child. I originally didn't want to be this violent. But when I heard the words, little bastard, I really couldn't hold back. Mr. Foster, the woman exclaimed, glaring at me with anger. Ella Barnes, how could you treat Mr. Foster like this? In front of Joshua Foster, I also slapped Grace Simmons across the face. Grace Simmons was stunned. You actually dared to hit me. Grace Simmons rushed over recklessly, wanting to retaliate. I calmly raised my foot. What? Don't you want the baby in your belly? Grace Simmons instinctively protected her abdomen, looking at Joshua Foster. Barnes, sister, you all can leave. I impatiently interrupted her tea ceremony performance, looking coldly at Joshua Foster. You cheated. I had an affair. You are about to have your own child. I already have my own child. We are even. Saying this, I pulled out the paternity test report and threw it at his face to prevent him from being self-absorbed. Thinking I was joking with him, I sneered and said, he is my son. I am also his biological mother. The words on the reports that Ella Barnes is the biological mother of John Mitchell stabbed Joshua Foster's eyes deeply. Have you seen enough? Get out of here. Right now. Don't waste my time cooking porridge for my son. Joshua Foster. Silently. He looked into my eyes for a while, trying to find my past tolerance and affection for him, or anger and despair, or even hatred, to prove that I still care about him. But this time he failed. I once shattered the household items in a fit of rage, hysterically arguing with him. I also put aside Barnest posture of the elder daughter of the Barnes family, pleading with tear-filled eyes. I even cursed at him like a shrew, using the most vicious language imaginable, pointing at his nose. But when love fades, only resentment remains, leaving nothing but sorrow. I don't understand why too. People who once loved each other so much ended up like this. I was once very confused, but now I am too lazy to think about it anymore. My love for him was like a blazing flame, and he extinguished it bit by bit. Yet the remaining embers still hoped for him to change his mind, but he scoffed at it. In the end, I extinguished it with my own hands. Even if the pain makes me wish for death, even if I bleed profusely, all that remains is the calmness of a heart like dead ashes. Joshua Foster stared at me intensely and said in a hoarse voice, "Ella Barnes, are you serious?" He suddenly got angry, disregarding Grace Simmons' San John Mitchell being present, and violently grabbed my wrist with such strength it felt like he wanted to crush it. His expression dark and dangerously turbulent like a raging sea. "Who allowed you to be serious?" Grace Simmons looked at Joshua Foster with a mix of fear and uncertainty. His demeanor, in fact, did not resemble what he claimed. "I have no feelings for Ella Barnes anymore." Not only did it not resemble it, but he clearly still cared for Ella Barnes. At that moment, I was also angry and, without hesitation, slapped his other cheek with my empty right hand. "Are you out of your mind?" I forcefully pulled my left hand back, rubbing the red mark on it with anger tinged with disdain. "Who allowed me?" "I allow myself." "What does a rotten cucumber like you count for?" "A pile of rotting garbage." "Still wanting to play the disgusting role of forced love like in novels." "P. How disgusting you are." I was so angry that I cursed loudly. Joshua Foster glared at me for a moment, then left the kitchen with Grace Simmons. I watched their backs indifferently. "Mom." The child cautiously tugged at my sleeve. "It's okay." I patted his head. "I didn't scare you, did I?" The little boy shook his head and said cutely, "I wasn't scared. Mom is so cool." I chuckled and started cooking porridge again. After the porridge was ready, I watched the little one gobbling it down and kindly reminded, "Eat slowly. Don't rush. Mom's cooking is really delicious." The little one looked unsatisfied. I was momentarily dazed. It's ironic that the eldest daughter of the Barnes family, who has never touched spring water, has learned this cooking skill for Joshua Foster. Back then, I was completely in love. I always thought that love could conquer all. Little did I know it was just my own overthinking. Putting aside all my mixed thoughts, I finally asked the little boy, "John, who is your biological father?" Don't be fooled by how tough I seem in front of those two. I was confused myself, even though I have been married to Joshua Foster for 9 years, but I'm sure that in these 9 years, I have never been pregnant. However, the little boy comes with a paternity test showing 99% certainty and resembles me so much that I cannot deny he is my son. If anything abnormal can be said, it would be that more than 5 years ago, I fainted for 3 days for reasons unknown. At that time, my relationship with Joshua Foster had already deteriorated. He was indifferent to my unconscious state, probably thinking it was just a new tactic I was using to keep him. I suspected something had happened to me during these 3 days. But 3 days of pregnancy and childbirth, I admit my inability to accept it. John Mitchell, the child's smile faltered slightly. He pressed his lips and withdrew that soft and innocent expression he wore in front of others. His eyes were clear and mature as he said, "Mom, what if I say I don't want you to meet my father?" I laughed, pinching his chubby face. "How come, John?" Other kids would be eager for their parents to form a perfect family together. And even if they aren't together, they would try to play matchmaker. "Why are you so different?" John Mitchell softly replied, "If my father is worthy of lifelong trust, I wouldn't oppose it. Whether he can win my mother's heart depends on his abilities. And I won't interfere. I just hope my mom doesn't give up the life she wants because of me." John Mitchell only wants to be my mother's armor, not her Achilles heel. "Mom, you are first yourself, then a wife and mother." John Mitchell had a serious expression. "Me Frog fun. Son, is your understanding too advanced? Is this really something a 5-year-old would say? I keenly sense that my son seemed to have a dislike for his father, even a subtle aversion. He calls me mom with familiarity, while he refers to that man as the distant and unfamiliar father, John Mitchell. A hint of mist appeared in his eyes, seeming both relieved and sad. Moreover, my father has never been my mother's good man. I hadn't yet grasped the meaning of this sentence when my wrist suddenly felt cold. The little friend carefully applied ointment on the red mark that Joshua Foster had left on my wrist. While applying, he exhaled, "The pain is flying away, Tilda. Ah, how could I have such a lovely and caring son?" John Mitchell settled down at home. He hugged the pillow, stammering, "Mom, can I sleep with you?" "I do not agree," Joshua Foster said sharply, glaring fiercely at John Mitchell with bloodshot eyes like a beast whose territory has been invaded. I scoffed. "I don't care whether you agree or not." Once I also scolded him angrily like this, forbidding him to spend the night with other women, but it was useless. He still did whatever he wanted, let alone just sleeping with my son, even if I brought back a male model. What could he do? The bullet he shot out a few years ago was now hitting him right in the center of his brow. John Mitchell seemed to be frightened, the bright red instantly spreading to the corners of his eyes and tears as big as beans gathering in his eyes. "Uncle, I haven't seen my mom for a long time. I just want to accompany her. Is that not allowed?" His voice was choked with a tender soft tone tinged with tears. His delicate, pale face resembling mine by 80%. It was I who overstepped. "Mom, I will. My appearance is the kind that is flamboyant and eye-catching. Even when I lower my head for a moment, I still carry a defiant arrogance." I was fiercely affectionate to see such a pitiful expression on a face that closely resembles mine without any feeling of incongruity. I immediately picked him up and softly coaxed, "Wherever it's cooler, go there. No one can bully my son." Saying that, I shot him a disdainful glance. "You said we would each do our own thing. But don't you think your hand is reaching a bit too far? I sleep with my son and you sleep with that woman out there. Isn't that fair? Look at your fierce and intimidating appearance. Do you still have any resemblance to the spoiled heir of the Foster family? Can you stop being so unreasonable?" My voice was filled with deep disdain. I never expected that one day a boomerang would hit him back. It's he who said we would each do our own thing. It's he who said we wouldn't interfere with each other. It's still him who can't stand me having an affair and suddenly having a son. A person with such double standards truly opened my eyes. No matter how I looked at him before, I never got enough. Now when I see him, I feel annoyed. I held my son and walked into the room without looking back. "So I didn't see it, John Mitchell." His tearful expression vanished in an instant and he shot a provocative glance. Joshua Foster, his lips moved slightly, slowly uttering 2 words. "You fool." Joshua Foster was so angry that his face turned green. The next noon, the aunt had made lunch. Joshua Foster carefully helped Grace Simmons take a seat, served her vegetables, and his tenderness was evident with lowered eyes, as if yesterday's rage had never occurred. If I raised my head at that moment, I would definitely hear him say, "He used to treat me the same way. However, I don't have time to watch those two flirt with each other because I'm currently arguing with my son, John Mitchell. Mom, I want to eat KFC." I said, seriously, "John, eating too much KFC will make you a little chubby. Fried chicken, cola, burgers. They are all unhealthy foods." John Mitchell wet at me and tempted me. "Mom, we won't eat much. Think about the crispy and tender pepper chicken burger we had when we returned from the amusement park paired with icy lemon cola and the crunchy chicken leg." My bottom line broke and I slapped my thigh. "All right, I'll take you this weekend. Don't blame me for being indecisive. I'm a little tempted by KFC, too." John Mitchell kissed my face and smiled. His smile brightened. His eyes. Mom is the best. Mom is the best mom in the world. Joshua Foster saw that I hadn't spared him a glance and he felt a bit angry. His originally gentle movements became peremptory. Joshua, I don't like eating celery. Grace Simmons glanced at him and said in a low voice. Joshua Foster ignored her. All eyes were on me and John Mitchell. His eyes were dark like a deep abyss, and veins were bulging on his hands as if he wanted to break the chopsticks by force. I noticed this scene and sneered inwardly. Men are just cheap. When I offered him my passionate love, he discarded it like a worn-out object. When I looked down on him, he kept testing my feelings for him, even coming up to me like a little lap dog. When a woman really gives up, do you think she will turn back? John Mitchell and T talk about who his biological father is. And I won't press the matter. The Barnes family is a wealthy and influential household. They could easily raise not just one child, but 10. My parents only have one daughter and they spoil me greatly. When I originally married Joshua Foster, they did not oppose it. At that time, Joshua Foster had not changed his heart and treated me extremely well. Clearly not good at needlework. Yet, he insisted on knitting a scarf for me himself. The rough stitching and clumsy patterns made me deliberately say it was ugly, and his gaze dimmed. Yet he said firmly, I will work hard to learn and strive to knit the most beautiful and warm scarf for my Ella. I hugged his neck and laughed, saying I was joking and that I really liked it. His eyes sparkled like stars as he leaned down to kiss my eyes. I have a cold body and easily get cold hands and feet in winter. He held my icy hands, placing them in his warm embrace, smiling indulgently. I am willing to warm my Ella for a lifetime. When I was bullied by some thugs, he descended like a god, beating them until they were terrified. The black coat enveloped my body, and the faint mint scent made my tears flow. Joshua Foster. I am scared. Joshua Foster clumsily wiped my face until it was red. Don't cry. I chased them away. Ella, I will protect you for a lifetime. Even my cunning father, who is as sly as a fox in the mall and understands human nature, never doubted Joshua Foster's sincerity towards his only daughter. Not to mention, I was deeply ensnared in his gentle pampering. The moment I realized he was cheating, my world fell silent, withered, and was filled with absurdity. At that time, I was standing in the mall, still holding the black shirt I picked out for him. In my phone, the photos of the two of them holding hands and kissing were painfully glaring. In the mall, a melancholic song played out line by line. Actually, I understand. I don't really understand. The ending will be a separation. I don't want to separate. I'm still foolishly waiting with my phone. I can let go, but I cannot let go. Whether it's love or being loved is no exception. Tears fell on the phone screen and my vision was blurred. I raised my head in confusion. The song continues without ceasing. The clothes you left behind are still on the balcony. And maybe I've never seen the sea you mentioned. Maybe the love you spoke of is false and non-existent. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm still hoping to have a future with you. It felt as if I had awakened. And I wiped away the tears on the screen with all my strength. No. No. He loves me so much. How could he betray me? I must have seen it wrong. How could you forget that you said you loved me first? The music box you gave me is in the drawer. Did happiness all get taken away by you? I am still used to living alone in solitude. Having wiped it clean, I opened the picture again with full hope. It seems to be mocking my naivety. The image of the two people kissing reappeared before my eyes. It is just that, casually changing one's heart as if it were an old friend. Dad knew. Joshua Foster was furious on the day he turned his back on me and personally went to Joshua Foster to break two of his ribs and ordered me to divorce him. Immediately. I cried for a whole day and night, unwilling to let go. Many people Scolded me for being love-ringed. Affected, and what's the point of crying? Over a scumbag who kicked you to the curb. But if the needle isn't pricked into them, how would they know the pain? I loved him for over a decade. From high school to university and then as I stepped into the halls of marriage. How many decades are there in life? I have poured my deepest feelings and the best of my youth into nurturing this great tree called love. It has taken a deep root in my heart. Severing emotions is no different from digging out my heart. How could I possibly accept that after the divorce? Should I step aside for another woman and let her take advantage? Don't even think about it. If John Mitchell does and show up, even if Joshua Foster brings a pregnant Grace Simon flaunt in front of me, I still won't consider divorce at this point. It naturally has nothing to do with love. Because as long as I am still Mrs. Foster, they will ultimately remain the mistresses who cannot appear openly. I brought John Mitchell back to Barnes's home. Mom and Dad were both stunned. "Hello, Grandpa and Grandma." John Mitchell called out sweetly. Dad looked dazed, then quickly reacted. "Daughter, is this your son? My grandson?" I nodded. "His name is John Mitchell." Mom frowned lightly. "His last name is Mitchell, not Foster." "Wait. When did you have a child? When did my daughter get pregnant and give birth? How come they didn't know?" I awkwardly scratched my head. "Honestly, I don't know either." Dad was serious. "So he's not that damn bastard's child?" A drop of cold sweat appeared on my forehead. "No, I was worried. So, a few days ago, I took Joshua Foster's hair and did a paternity test with John Mitchell. The report showed that the son has zero relationship with Joshua Foster, and I am indeed John Mitchell's mother." Dad excitedly patted me on the shoulder. "You finally got that little bastard green. Well done." I immediately. The son was warmly welcomed by both grandparents. Dad waved his hand decisively and had the butler order a batch of limited edition children's clothing for spring, summer, autumn, and winter, as well as various child-related household items. Mom immediately instructed the nanny to convert a bedroom into a children's room. I told them John Mitchell's background once. At that time, I went to the bar, gathered my courage, and prepared to order my first male model in life, but was suddenly hugged by a little boy calling me Mom at my feet. I still can't forget the expressions of those male models in the bar. Other guests also cast strange looks at me for no particular reason. John Mitchell looked too much like me, as if he was carved out of the same mold. As I spoke, I took out the paternity test. I awkwardly smiled. It's quite magical. Suddenly becoming a mom. Without pain. Getting a cute little rice ball for free. My parents fell silent. My dad finally said, "So, you also don't know who the father of the child is?" I pursed my lips. "Yeah, you all know. Whether I'm pregnant or not. I don't even know where my son came from, let alone his dad." Dad waved his hand casually and said, "Then go for father. To leave a son if they really come knocking. Just give them some money to send them away." I stayed at Barnes for a few days with my son. I really didn't want to go back. Every time I saw Joshua Foster's gloomy expression, as if I had betrayed him first, and his erratic emotions, I felt like throwing up. I couldn't help but ask again about John Mitchell's background. Previously, John Mitchell avoided the topic, but this time he surprisingly didn't change the subject. John Mitchell seriously asked, "Mom, do you believe in parallel worlds?" I replied, I didn't believe it before, but now I do. I couldn't help but ruffle his hair otherwise. "How did this little guy come about?" John Mitchell dodged my hand and fixed his messy hair. "Mom, if I said that the UN this world crossed over to the UN another parallel world, would you believe it?" Mom should be soul transferred. The you in this world would be unconscious for a while without awareness. I pondered. I did actually faint for 3 days back then. Joshua Foster, didn't he pay attention to me? But my parents were instead frightened. John Mitchell straight to the point. "Mom, you must have already crossed into A parallel world at that time. You don't remember me. You must have lost your memory when you came back. According to my father's description, you should have crossed over with the memories of this world because my father once investigated. Mom, your personality was quite different when you married him. I was shocked. Did I marry your dad? John Mitchell nodded gently. In my world, Mom with Uncle Foster were just strangers. This is quite easy to understand. I met Joshua Foster after transferring schools in high school. But what if the parallel world version of me didn't transfer schools? Then naturally, I wouldn't encounter Joshua Foster. This is a living world, living humans. A small mistake can lead to a huge difference. The branches of the same big tree grow in different directions. Similarly, different choices made by the same person can lead to vastly different outcomes. Actually, I don't quite understand how I can carry memories into a parallel world. Logically, having experienced passionate love and heart-wrenching betrayal, how could I possibly fall in love with another person and bear a child for him in a short period of time? What's going on? I asked John Mitchell. Baby, what kind of person is your father? John Mitchell paused and said, arrogant, dictatorial, cold, and ungrateful. This is Joshua Foster. Completely different types. I tentatively asked, did I fall in love with him? I have never seen such an expression on John Mitchell's face. In an instant, the delicate and beautiful face lost its obedience and softness, as if a storm was gathering in the child's eyes, the voice dark and cold. Does he deserve it? Very good. To be able to make such an expression from a usually well-tempered child, I must have encountered another scumbag. John Mitchell took a deep breath. Mom, there isn't a good man, I said with a smile. John, you can't say that. You're a man, too. Such a good and gentle little baby. How come you're not a good one? John Mitchell tightened his face and retorted. I am not a man. I am a boy. And also, I am not an object. I laughed heartily. How is my son so adorable? What is your father's name? I thought for a moment. After all, it's a parallel world. If I were to marry someone of the same class, there would only be successful men in the entire capital. Surnamed Mitchell and not much older than me. Joseph Mitchell. John Mitchell said softly. Joseph Mitchell. In this world, I am like Joseph Mitchell. We are like parallel lines with no intersection. Regarding the matters of Mom and Dad, it's better for Mom to recall them herself. If I were to recount them, it would carry my intense personal emotions, easily leading to a biased perception of my father. After all, I really dislike my father, Tilda. Mom, no matter what choice you make after you regain your memories, I will support you, John Mitchell said. Seriously, I twitched my lips. Little baby, are you really only 5 years old? No way. Right. How could a 5-year-old child have such mature and rational thoughts? But usually his adorable childishness does indeed have the innocence of a 5-year-old. I felt disheveled in the wind. No. Isn't this child's personality too fragmented? John Mitchell smiled. Mom thinks I am as old as I am. If you don't want to see me as your son, we can still be friends. You little brat. Mom. John Mitchell said softly. You need to be prepared. I can feel it. My father will soon come into this world. Speak of the devil and he shall appear. I looked speechlessly at the invitation in my hand, flipping it over and over. The Mitchell family, known for their low profile, suddenly invites all the aristocrats and socialites to attend a banquet they are hosting. I still have the label of Mrs. Foster. Just send the invitation directly to Joshua Foster. What does it mean to send me a separate invitation? If you say there's no intention behind it, I really don't believe it. John Mitchell stared at the invitation grimly, looking very displeased. Shameless, he seemed to think of something, and his face darkened further. Mom, if you're going to the banquet, do you have to go with Uncle Foster? I helplessly shrugged. Yeah, we haven't divorced yet. No, I need to get divorced as soon as possible. Before it was whatever. Not. Divorcing was just to annoy Joshua Foster and his mistress. But it's different now. I have John Mitchell. Even if he is a legitimate child in another parallel world, in this world, he can only be considered my illegitimate child. Once I get divorced, I can bring him back to the Barnes family. What if he's an illegitimate child under the pressure of the Barnes family? I doubt those people would dare to speak out. Moreover, Joshua Foster calling me a little bastard really infuriated me. Leave. Leave without stopping. I attended the banquet with Joshua Foster, looking at Grace Simmons, who was still living with the Foster family, and showed me her resentful and jealous expression. I sneered. Joshua Foster, this man is really a dog. Keeping a mistress while pretending to care about me. Upon entering the hall, I straightened my posture. No matter how incompatible we usually are, we must put on a show in public because I have no memory. I am still quite curious about my son's biological father. Finally, I saw the man who was the center of everyone's attention in the crowd. The man has a tall and upright figure, dressed in a dark gray suit. Since he is turned sideways to me, I can only see his smooth profile, high-nosed bridge, and slightly thin lips. One can only imagine how captivating his face must be. The atmosphere around him is just as John Mitchell described, arrogant, dictatorial, cold. I can only say that this type of man is not my type. I like warm men like Joshua Foster who are youthful and sunny, yet carry the spiritedness and boldness of youth along with a passionate and unrepentant approach to love. However, Joseph Mitch Ellis, the kind of man who is quite deep and reserved, which is not my preferred type. I held my wine glass and thought idly. At that moment, the man seemed to sense something and turned around just as I happened to look up. In an instant, our eyes met. My head exploded with a loud bang. Countless chaotic memories flooded into my mind. My vision went dark and I almost lost my balance. Joshua Foster sensed that something was wrong with me and quickly supported me. Finally, I have received all the memories, and I looked into Joshua Foster's eyes, clearly seeing the fleeting concern at the bottom of his gaze. I sneered coldly in my heart, disregarding the many eyes on me, and forcefully shook off his hand. Great. Really great. Did I blow up the galaxy in my past life? How could I possibly encounter these two pieces of trash? I had already let go, and my love for Joshua Foster was completely gone. However, being on the same stage as these two men, which one is worse than the other, made me feel nauseous enough to almost throw up last night's dinner. One betrays me. One uses me. I was so angry that my whole body was shaking. Yet, Joseph Mitchell, still unaware, walked towards me. He looked deeply at me, his eyes filled with guilt and pain, as well as careful love. I know that is him from a parallel world. Love. Such rubbish. Is it even worthy to be called love? I inhale. Exhale. Trying to stay calm, but I can't help it. I really can't. Seeing this face that I loathe, I really want to throw him off the 30th floor. I can't take it anymore. I slapped him hard right across the face. Joseph Mitchell's head was knocked to one side by me. In the crowd's exclamations, my voice was cold, as if from 1,000 years of ice. It's been a long time, Joseph Mitchell. Joshua Foster frowned and said, Ella Barnes. Do you know him? Smack. Joshua Foster also received a solid slap from me and was kicked away. Get lost. You have no right to speak, Joshua Foster. Perhaps I was born without the fate of a female lead. In others, the female lead is mistreated by a scumbag male lead. Then, the gentle second male lead takes over, pampering the female lead to the extreme, healing her wounds. And then, they have a happy ending. And me, I deeply suspect that heaven has a grudge against me. As the saying goes, God closed a door on me and conveniently welded the window shut. At that time I had already accepted Joshua Foster's change of heart. In a state of despair, I entered a parallel world only to find that Barnes's family was on the brink of bankruptcy. Who knows, Barnes's family was doing well in my world. Why is it almost gone in this parallel time? Later, I learned that in the parallel world, my dad bid on a project. But then, the national policy changed and the huge investment couldn't be recovered. And in my world, my dad seemed to have missed this project. Once I heard him say to my mom with lingering fear, "Fortunately, we didn't bid on this project. Otherwise, our family would be finished." I inherited the memories of me from a parallel world. My dad is still that dad, treating me like a precious gem. At this time, the Mitchell family proposed a marriage alliance. As long as I marry Joseph Mitchell, the eldest son of the Mitchell family, it would resolve the urgent crisis of the Barnes family. My dad didn't want to ruin my happiness. He said he would find a way. But the Barnes family couldn't wait any longer. I calmly agreed to the Mitchell family. After going through that failed marriage with Joshua Foster, I no longer had any expectations for love. Joseph Mitchell needs a wife and I need to revive the Barnes family. Joseph Mitchell also took this opportunity to merge some small and medium-sized businesses. I don't have any thoughts about it. It's just mutual exploitation. Actually, being this peaceful is fine. After marrying him, I will fulfill my duties as a wife. But the disgusting part is Joseph Mitchell. This bastard has someone he cherishes. This isn't even the worst of it. At a banquet, this bastard used me to block wine, and I accidentally drank a cup that had something in it. The result is, as you can imagine, he appreciated my pathetic state for quite a while before condescendingly bending down. That's when John Mitchell came into play. Afterwards, I almost killed Joseph Mitchell with my bare hands. When I remembered asking John Mitchell, did I fall in love with him? I just wanted to slap myself twice. I love him. Huh. I love him to death. If at that moment I were filled with disgust, then what followed? I would thoroughly hate Joseph Mitchell. John Mitchell. Although it was an accident, how could I not love a child whom I carried for 10 months and gave birth to myself? Moreover, John Mitchell looks very much like me and is very sensible and well-behaved. So, I naturally love him dearly. He seemed like a beam of light illuminating my life, which could be called dark. But good times didn't last long. John Mitchell was kidnapped by robbers in order to bring back his sweetheart. Joseph Mitchell actually disregarded John Mitchell. Did he ever think John Mitchell is also his biological son? I finally understand John Mitchell, why he is so distant from his father. Even his dislike is mere feint. Joseph Mitchell's merely a stranger to him who shares his blood. Hate. He stopped caring about that father a long time ago. So what is there to talk about hate? No way. If I stay any longer, I will be so angry I'll explode in this life, the next life, and the life after that. I must keep my distance from men. My teeth nearly crunched down. I turned around and left without looking back. Once I was out of the banquet, the cool wind slapped against my face. I wiped my face and found that I was already in tears. I'm not crying for lost love, nor am I crying for the despair of being used. Instead, I'm crying for my own bad luck. What kind of people am I encountering here? Mom, a tender and clear child's voice sounded. It was John Mitchell. He was wearing a white suit with a budding and beautiful rose pinned to his chest. Because he wasn't tall enough, he awkwardly stood on tiptoe, stretched out his hand, and handed me a tissue. Mom, don't cry. You still have me. John Mitchell will always love Mom. I spent several days drafting the divorce agreement. Damn it. One person has already made my blood pressure rise. 2 people could send me straight to the sky. I really don't want to step into the Foster house again. So, I arranged to meet Joshua Foster. I expressionlessly pushed the agreement over. Joshua Foster, let's get a divorce. Joshua Foster seemed like he Hadn't slept for several nights with a scruffy beard and bloodshot eyes. He didn't even look at the divorce agreement, asking her arsely, "Is it you and John Mitchell who are involved with Joseph Mitchell? Do you love him that much? Are you so eager to divorce me? Wanting to be with Joseph Mitchell in a double date? Me? Huh? Who do I love? Joseph Mitchell. What kind of horror movie is this?" I sarcastically said. "Let's not even talk about Joseph Mitchell. You Joshua Foster, what silly deep feelings are you trying to play now? You are the one who said you would treat me well for life. You were the first to cheat. You said everyone could play their own games. And when I had a child, it was you who questioned me. Foster, what a big face you have." Joshua Foster froze, the anger in his eyes slowly dissipating. His voice trembled. "Ella, I had Grace Simmons hit the child. It was my fault. I will treat John Mitchell like my own son. Can we be together again?" All the tea on the table splashed onto Joshua Foster's face. I put down the teacup and calmly said, "Can you say that again?" This disgusting face slowly overlapped with that of Joseph Mitchell chasing after the white moonlight, abandoning his own son. Everything is so damn deserving. Joshua Foster fell silent. "You have to sign this agreement whether you want to or not. After all, how embarrassing would it be to go to court, don't you think, Joshua Foster?" Water droplets slid down his face. His eyelashes trembled slightly, creating a sense of broken and defeated beauty. The veins on the back of his hand bulged, his fingers tightened, and a corner of the agreement was crumpled by him. "I give you 3 days," I said coldly. "If you don't sign, then we'll see each other in court." Humans are truly strange creatures. They know perfectly well that I don't want to engage with them, yet they still come over to provoke me. "Father, my mom doesn't want to see you," John Mitchell smirked, blocking the way of Joseph Mitchell. Joseph Mitchell furrowed his brow slightly. I put down the TV remote, stood up, and walked over to them. "Mom." John Mitchell looked up. "John, you go back to your room first." I patted the little boy's head. John Mitchell hesitated, ultimately turning into a simple okay. A small figure disappeared behind the door. The gentle smile on my face vanished completely. He looked tired with disheveled hair, yet it did not diminish his handsome appearance in the slightest. The deep eyes no longer held the indifference of the parallel world, but instead surged with countless emotions, as if he cared about me. I impatiently said, "Speak quickly if you have something to say, or let it out if you need to. Joseph Mitchell is different from Joshua Foster. I truly love Joshua Foster. So, the pain after the betrayal is intense and prolonged. However, Joseph Mitchell, at first I was grateful to him because he was willing to save the Barnes family from disaster. Even when I discovered after marriage that he had a cherished person in his heart, I didn't care much. At most, I felt a bit uncomfortable, mainly showing contempt for his actions of being the kind of scumbag who harbors feelings for someone yet chooses to marry another. I will fulfill my marital duties. But it definitely does not include being schemed against and then forced to sleep with him. John Mitchell. The incident of being kidnapped. The hatred in that moment was almost equal to knowing Joshua Foster betrayed me. Joseph Mitchell remained silent. I felt bored and was about to turn away. He suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Should I call you Mrs. Foster?" He laughed self-deprecatingly. I said lightly, "It won't be for long. Speaking of which, meeting both of you in this lifetime is just unfortunate." He closed his eyes. His voice, "I'm sorry." My smile was full of sarcasm. If I'm sorry is worth anything, why do we even need the police? But I stepped forward, my voice enticing. "Do you really want to ask for my forgiveness?" His eyes brightened and he nodded eagerly. I said softly, but with a cruel tone, "You jump from the Thousand Lines cliff, and if you survive, I will forgive you." The Thousand Lines cliff is the precipice where the kidnappers nearly tossed John Mitchell into the roaring deep sea. The phrases parting amicably with respect and blessing are all nonsense to me. My nature is to be calculative and vengeful. Let them all die is what I truly am. Suffering in silence, hurting myself to gain others' pity, not a chance. As soon as I finished speaking, I saw sorrow and shock in his eyes. I remained unmoved and said coldly, and also, let go of me immediately, don't force me to slap you, the suffering my son has endured, how can you, as his biological father, not experience it for yourself? Joshua Foster finally agreed to sign the divorce agreement. Over the past 3 days, he tried to continue showing his deep feelings in the hope that I would change my mind, but I gave him no chances at all. I bring John Mitchell to eat, drink, and have fun. Often, when I arrive at the next destination, he has already missed out. At the previous one, his fingertips were pale as he held the pen, his face haggard, taking a deep breath. Ella Barnes, I ask you one last question. I'm about to regain my freedom, so I generously said, ask me. His eyes were filled with thoughts, each word deliberate. Have you ever loved Joseph Mitchell? I raised an eyebrow. Really? Didn't expect him to be so obsessed with this question. I chuckled softly. He is even worthy. However, I am actually quite grateful to him. After all, little John Mitchell's appearance made me feel that the world isn't so bad after all. Joshua Foster closed his eyes. The tip of the pen moved slightly. Since then, Ella Barnes and Joshua Foster, living apart, did not interfere with each other. After that, I never saw Joseph Mitchell again. However, I received a letter from him along with a property gift agreement. I took a glance at that letter, which was nothing but some unnutritious confessions, and burned it carelessly. As for Joshua Foster, after I divorced him, the Foster family was continuously pressured and besieged by the Barnes family. Dad, John Mitchell said with a smile, Mom, Grandpa is venting for you. Dad arrogantly turned his face away from each. I told you to divorce early so I can deal with that. Grandson. He took into account his daughter's feelings, fearing that she still had feelings for Joshua Foster, and hesitated to take action. He understands his daughter incredibly well. A bond of over 10 years cannot just be let go. He can only wait for her to come to terms with it, get divorced, and then slowly move on. Barnes family has been a prestigious household in the capital for 100 years, while the Foster family, although having a place in the capital, cannot compare to the Barnes family. Soon it began to retreat, step by step. The last I heard was that the Foster family went bankrupt and Joshua Foster and Grace Simmons moved into a cramped and filthy rental apartment. They quarrel over trivial matters every day. In a fit of anger, Joshua Foster even pushed Grace Simmons, causing Grace Simmons to have a miscarriage. Later on, Joshua Foster was investigated for tax evasion and corruption within his company and was taken away by the police. But what does it have to do with me? The brilliant sunlight shines on the beach as if it were covered with gold. I wear sunglasses and enjoy the sunbathing on the beach with a cup of ice-cold lemonade tea that hasn't melted yet. I took a deep sip. It felt so good, too good. John Mitchell with bare feet, stepping on fine soft sand, holding a small shovel, shoveling sand scoop by scoop. Soon enough, 2 small mounds of dirt popped up on the beach. The top is pointed, especially resembling a grave mound. 2 black lines have appeared on my forehead. Damn, son. You wouldn't be burying us, too, would you? This cannot be allowed. I turned my head and pretended not to see, but son hurried over and asked, Mom, who do you think I am building? I twitched my lips, made up my mind. That one is Joshua Foster, and the other one is Joseph Mitchell. Anyway, it definitely can't be me. John Mitchell clapping. Congratulations to Mom for guessing right. I poked his nose and chuckled. You really are a clever little thing. The vast sea stretches endlessly, shimmering with tiny waves under the sunlight. The waves seem to carry people's troubles away, flying off with crystalline splashes. When the darkness fades, the stars finally shine brightly. The end. Extra. John Mitchell. Father. You shouldn't be here. I looked up, my eyes devoid of warmth, and said coldly, Mom has already forgotten you. That's a good thing in her not-so-lucky life. Now. What? Do you think it's not enough damage for her? Father's attitude was equally indifferent, he retorted. In this world, she hasn't married me. I scoffed. How great is your face to still expect to occupy Mom from another parallel world. But my mother is really unlucky. Not only did she marry a scumbag, but she also encountered a person like you, a total worthless person. I don't really blame him for giving up on me to pursue his true love. What I find most unbearable is that he made my mother sad. My father ignored my sarcasm and said, John Mitchell, you should know, right? This world does not have an Ella Barnes who gave birth to you. You will eventually return to your original world. My expression slightly changed. Yes, after my mom returned to her world. The mom in my world was just a soulless body. I don't know why the mom in my world didn't come back. Falling into this parallel world was purely accidental. However, I recognized at a glance that this was my mom who gave birth to me, cared for me, and loved me. Just thinking about going back to a world without my mom makes me feel an unstoppable panic inside. I don't want to leave. I am unwilling to be just a passerby in my mom's life. But I also know that as a 5-year-old child, I really can't change anything. Just as I mysteriously came to my mom's world, I will also return to my own world in a mysterious way. Since that's the case, rather than wallowing in self-pity, I would rather cherish every day spent with my mom. I crossed my arms and said, so what? My mom will only love me in this lifetime. You and Joshua Foster are just 2 stumbling blocks in her life. Once she steps over you, don't expect to leave any trace in her heart. My father finally got angry. Hey, but he doesn't dare to touch me. When I found out that my mom had my father go jump off Chinching Cliff, my brow twitched. Because I felt that my father really would do such a thing. My mom and dad are just caught in a drama of I don't like you. I like the pure and beautiful moonlight. I humiliate you because you occupy the space of that moonlight. And it is only when I finally lose you that I realize I have deeply fallen in love with you. After that, I never saw my father again. But would my father really die so easily? I remained skeptical. One day I received a letter. My son John Mitchell, when you receive this letter, the portal to the parallel world will be closed and you will remain in this world forever, accompanied by your mother. I hope you and your mother will take care of yourselves. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. So, feel free to share your opinions and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.